Start off with a pre-weighed amount of coffee beans. These are whole beans.
This contraption on the campus of University of Mary Washington isn't exactly a K-cup.
You need to take a moment to let the coffee beans bloom before you can put the rest of the coffee on.
University Director Ray Tuttle says there's a reason for the process.
All in all, it probably takes 4 or 5 minutes to make a cup of coffee. And during that time, we're able to engage the person in the conversation about what it is to be in recovery.
This is one of several recovery bikes on campuses across Virginia. It doubles as both a work of art and a conversation starter, because who can say no to a free cup of joe?
This cart is part of Eagles in Recovery, a peer-led program meant to foster sobriety among students through one-on-one counseling and peer support. There are hundreds of collegiate recovery programs across the country.
Thanks. I needed that.
Far removed from the days of Animal House, or even old school, there seems to be a growing acceptance on campuses for those who don't drink for whatever the reason. Social media filled with videos of support and even tips for fellow students.
Tip 2, don't hide the fact that you're sober. Honestly, just own it. So many people knew me as the sober girl and reached out to me because they'd want to go to parties sober.
Schools like George Washington University hosting GW Late Nights, a series of inclusive alcohol-free events. A study sponsored by the National Institute of Health showed a decrease in past year, past month, and daily alcohol consumption. However, there's been a rise in binge drinking, marijuana use, and hallucinogen use. And provisional data from the CDC shows an uptick in overdose deaths from drugs like fentanyl.
We need to celebrate and normalize the trending downward, but we have to pay attention to the death piece.
Christina Canfield is Executive Director of the Association of Recovery in Higher Education, an organization helping campuses set up recovery programs like the one at UMW. She's passionate about the issue because she lived it as a college student in recovery.
I was taught as a young person in recovery to not talk about it. You don't tell people you're in recovery. It was real fun trying to answer questions of like, what happened to you? Like, where'd you go?
While stigma may be decreasing among young people, Canfield says there's a lot of hesitation from school administrators, concerned about how the school will be perceived.
I still get a little blindsided, I think, when I hear an administrator say something like, why would we want those students here?
The reality, 2% of college students identify as being in recovery, according to a 2022 survey from the American College Health Association. Yale psychiatrist Amanda Calhoun says there are reasons for that, including external factors like the pressures of academics and biological causes.
Your brain is not fully developed yet. Your frontal lobe is still developing. So your ability to sort of think through decisions and, not act impulsively is still developing.
Both say colleges can be a first line of defense in shaking off the stigma for students already in recovery and those needing support. Tuttle agrees, saying no matter where or how the addiction began, the road to recovery can start here without shame.
Just like a good cup of coffee takes time. Like, it's not just pressing a button. It's not just like, here's your cup of coffee. It takes a little while before it happens. And that's what recovery is too.
Amber Strong, Newsy in Fredericksburg, Virginia.